Welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Zerg versus Protoss, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Alcyone. Now, spawning right here in the top right-hand corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones. You know him, you love him. The man I've been featuring over and over and over again over the last couple of weeks, because he's been playing in everything and he's been an absolute blast to watch. We're looking at none other than SHIN's main hatchery. SHIN is very quickly taking over the mantle of Dark. Dark used to play in everything, and he still plays in it a lot, but not nearly as much as SHIN. And it seems like overall, SHIN's tournament results as of late are, well, quite a bit more impressive than Dark's. His opponent, though, in the opposite corner, playing with the red Protoss pieces. Somebody I've been really enjoying games of as well. We're looking at none other than Trap's main Nexus. Alrighty. We've got ourselves a Cyber Core just about to finish up, so we will be able to see exactly what the route is going to be for the Protoss. Judging by the timing of everything, though, it's likely going to be an Adept into a Stargate. Although he could mix it up if he wants to. I mean, it's Zerg versus Protoss, right? We basically expect there to be a Stargate every single time. Although this is by no means the fastest possible Stargate. We're gonna get to 150 gas eventually. And there we go. Flying units will be able to hit the battlefield eventually. In the meantime, though, pesky little probe over at the third base of the Protoss player. It is going to try and slow this down. It doesn't really do much. He'll make sure to cancel. What he wants to do is delay this base for such a long time that sometimes the Adept can get towards the third base before the hatchery starts up. And if that Adept at that point can snipe the drone, it's essentially game over. I mean, you would have to play a 2-base build or wait until Zergling speed is done, but it tremendously slows down the Zerg. So, nice little attempt right there by Trap to see if he could get an easy win. Not the case, though, in this particular instance. Should be an Oracle, or 2, or 3. 150, there we go, 150 gas required. I think he was just a tiny little bit late on that second gas geyser. That's why everything hits just a bit differently, but he does have a couple Adepts on the other side of the map now, ready to be a nuisance. Nice little Evo Chamber block, preventing the opponent from coming in. I recently casted SHIN going up against who, in my mind, is probably the best Protoss player in the world, MaxSpecs, and he played exceptionally well. Banger of a best of 5 series. If you haven't seen that one yet, I do recommend you go and check it out. He played exceptionally well then, and in my mind, Trap is probably, like, not to be mean, but I would imagine that Trap is likely an easier opponent than MaxSpecs, just because MaxSpecs plays phenomenal StarCraft. And what I really liked from SHIN in that particular series is that he had a really powerful timing attack when the Protoss went to a 4th base. So every time MaxSpecs, as we do have the Adepts now shading in, 1 drone, 2 drones, 3 drones, okay, fair. Not amazing, though. Here comes the Oracle, but I don't think it's really at a spot where it can jump into the natural expansion. But every single time there was a transition from Protoss towards that Skytle's late-game army, he just came in and smacked the opponent around a bunch. And it's that, like, 2-minute or so of vulnerability where Protoss goes from a ground army into a late-game Skytle's army where, yeah, SHIN seems to be absolutely lethal. One of the queens goes down. Rest in pieces, Brenda. Literally. I think I saw Brenda's head on the ground. Oh, retargets with the Spore? Oof. Dangerous, but... In the meantime, though, this third base... Sorry, what? I didn't even pay attention to it because I didn't think it could ever happen. No way. Normally you sent the second Oracle. When you lose the Adepts, normally you sent the second Oracle on over to watch the third Nexus. This is as those Oracles are flying around over here and they're trying to find that opportunity. While they're killing Brenda, the Lynx killed the third Nexus. That is 400 minerals down the drain. I didn't even bother checking for that because that is such a common push from the Zerg that it, well, rarely happens. It rarely works. There is absolutely no way that second Oracle going across the map that quickly was justified there. Trap losing the Nexus, that's 400 minerals down the drain. And that is gonna heavily take the momentum out of the Protoss player. Now I have to see what SHIN decides to do on the back of this. So again, in that series that he played against MaxSpecs, he didn't go for like a queen walk, he didn't go for a roach attack, he didn't go for anything aggressive. Instead, what he seemed to enjoy whenever he's ahead is go for a quick fourth base, get the gases going on that expansion ASAP, and then rush up towards the hive. So this is a perfect opportunity, though, to go into some sort of, like, Queen March. If this was me playing Zerg, I would be doing some sort of Queen attack 100% of the time. Because Protoss just has been delayed tremendously, but it also does seem to be a little bit risky. Obviously, if you go up against, like, a Dark Templar follow-up, right, and you do some sort of Queen attack, you do fall behind. But I think what SHIN decides to do is go into the lair, and I am not surprised here to see a Hydra den and then probably like a, what's it called, an infestation pit right next to it. So we'll probably see both of them right at the same time. Just straight up towards the hive, straight up towards lurkers. These Stalker attacks are just so much weaker now, because he doesn't have the economy for it. Roach Warren starts up. Hydra den starts up. Do we go infestation pit, or do we hold this push first? Okay. Still relatively conservative. Maybe he didn't see that cancel right there on the base. Maybe he assumed that it was indeed not a kill, but a cancel, so that the majority of the resources were returned to the Protoss. If that would be the case, Protoss would only lose 100 minerals, but pretty significant blunder right there from Trap. Templar Archives coming up. Alternatively, Zerg could also go for like a Roach Hydra attack. Not a bad plan, just not a very popular one in 2024. Yeah, we're just making a lot of Hydralisks here. Evo Chamber did not start up an upgrade yet. I would imagine it's Missile. In the meantime, though, on the other side of the map, it is a Templar Archives on the back of this. We do also have the Blink upgrade right now finishing up. The problem is, I don't think Trap can really commit to this. He can sort of dance on the edge of the creep, maybe throw down a Revelation, kill a couple of tumors, yeah. But I don't believe there's really much of a commitment, because when you lose that Nexus early on, you also effectively lose any follow-up attacks. He can sit on the watchtower and pretend like he's gonna go for a push, because there's not a whole lot that the Zerg player can really do about it. But ultimately, I just don't see that this particular attack with Stalkers going deep onto creep would go well. So there's the infestation pit. And I actually think SHIN did just simply not see it. He must not have realized it, because he's playing this exceptionally conservatively right now. And honestly, it is getting to a point where he's playing so safely that he is starting to fall behind. Trap is playing as if that cancel never happened. He's delaying a little bit of creep spread, but he's going into a fourth base. He's going in for the upgrades. He's going into charge. We're going into storm. He doesn't have much of an army, but unless SHIN commits soon, I don't think there's really a whole lot that Protoss is going to be stopped by. Now, we do have a split on the units here, though, so I think what we're going to do, it's much like in that series actually against MechSpecs, it's a very different type of attack. Rather than pushing with lurkers, it seems like he wants to go for a split push with half of his army over here at the fourth and then the other half over at the third base. Storm is finishing up right now. Is there enough for Protoss to defend both sides of the map? Stasis wards. Okay, that one actually did slow down the army quite a bit. This Stasis ward also functioning as a force field. Lurker Den in the meantime is coming up. But this has been pretty much the perfect defense for Trap. Rarely losing anything here. It's not over yet. But the longer that this goes on, the easier it should become for Protoss. The fact that he actually held that just now without really losing anything. I feel like the units just kind of ran at each other, but nothing actually died. Those Stasis wards came in clutch. Once more, man, further proof that these are the best Protoss units in the game. It's not over yet, though. The Zerg army has decided to come together. We have a bit of a split attack once more, at least as far as the ramps go. 3 of the different ramps, but this is still going up towards the high ground. Another Stasis ward over here is disabling part of that Zerg army. Trap has been warping in a ton of reinforcements, and now with some robo units also joining the fray, he actually holds. Okay, that means it's time to shift gears. We're just gonna go straight into a fleet beacon. Hive is about halfway done at this point. SHIN will probably go straight into some, well, I guess lurker play here, but Trap is already going up towards a proper late game army. Now, keep in mind, this is not the PTR. So, we do expect to see an additional Stargate or two? Really? On the PTR, we've been seeing a lot of quick fleet beacons just for the Mama ship in this particular matchup. This looks like just a single mothership because we only have a Stargate, just a single one. Okay, second one starts up right now in probably the worst possible location. Why in the world do... Protoss moment. Protoss moment. Why do... Why do we just build it over there? Just because you can doesn't mean you should, dude. It's not disabling that much mining. I think the units are going to be able to go around. But you can see that this probe is completely losing the plot. Anyways, there's there's the mama ship. At the very least, that Stargate is not going to be easy to attack. Yeah, that's going to be relatively protectable. Okay. And what was looking like a pretty clean-cut victory for SHIN is turning into a macro game. And I think this kind of proves, though, why he's been playing Quick Hive rather than any sort of timing attack. Because when you're pushed towards that, so he did a split push just now, when that attack doesn't work well or when you don't actually deal significant amounts of damage, you probably fall behind. Or at the very least, the game evens up. Now he's finding himself in a good position, but by no means the amazing one that he was in earlier. He's giving Trap a lot of wiggle room here, and he's been doing a great job just mining all of this out. Getting the resources back in action. Just build pylons for the remainder of the game. There is a bit of a push over here, though. Yeah. Has the Tempest been spotted yet? I think it would either be a good choice here for Zerg to go into Vipers. Okay, now he sees it. Vipers or into a Spire. If we do neither of them, it is okay. Like, this is still an opportunity where there's really not that much available. And those lurkers are getting into really good positions here. In the meantime, there's also a Zealot Warp in inside of the main base of the Zerg player. This push over here at the third, though, I am a little bit concerned for. This is probably going to deal quite a bit of damage. Though the mothership has just showed up. This army has cycled back home. Zealots in the natural are being killed. Oh, we don't have all the upgrades done yet on the lurker den. And it looks like the lurker den will fall. Storm? Ooh. Storm? Ooh, okay. Lovely crisis management here by Trap. Very good. We do have an observer up in the air as well. Oh. The Templar have to run, man. One of them goes down, but that was still a lot of Zerglings as well. Oh, did they just... No. The observer's still by. Oh, God, this is a weird fight. Careful, High Templar. Those lurkers are being killed. In the meantime, the flank is being flanked. Mama Ship finally decided to wake up as well. Spire, by the way, is coming, but SHIN does not have a lot of money here. This is not one of those games where he's actually got the resources to just immediately go... Ooh, into... like a... What? Now we activate it? What? Okay. I guess he wanted to walk his units over that one lurker because he doesn't have the observer anymore. Yeah, I think that was the idea. He didn't know. I'm gonna assume this wasn't a Protoss moment. I think he just didn't know how many lurkers there were, so he wanted to guide his units safely across the minefield. Could have walked them around, but there were also lurkers over in that location previously. Although it would have been nice to see that cloaking field being used in the actual engagement. Anyways, I gotta compliment Trap here, though. He's doing a fantastic job microing multiple fights at once. He's gonna continue macroing up. Building a base up here. He's double expanding? Really? Okay, that feels a little excessive, I'm not gonna lie. Double expanding seems unnecessary. Yeah. Instead, spent those extra minerals on defending that base up north. Okay, so the Spire is done. SHIN does not really have the money to make a lot of Corruptors. So instead, he's rebuilding the Lurker Den and he's building a couple of Vipers. Nice catch here by those Zerglings, but these are Zerglings that only have speed. No +1 upgrades, no adrenal glands, and you can tell that they just don't deal that much damage. +2 is already finishing up, though, for the Skytles army. We don't have a lot of carriers yet, as in 0. But it would be a great opportunity to start building those, because the carriers hit very hard. Still a lot of roaches available. I don't think this is really a situation where you want to really have roaches anymore. Yeah, I think Trap is looking at this game, and he is trying to figure out the situation that he's in. Because he was quite far behind earlier on, right? Then it's easy for us to look at the minimap right now and look at the supply count and decide where the game actually is. But for Trap, he needs to piece, a very complex puzzle together. So he'd rather be safe than sorry. I think he probably could have committed a little bit more there. He does need to be careful, though, that he does not give the Zerg player too much of an opportunity to wiggle his way back into the game. We're going into the Dark Templar Blink upgrade. We're adding on additional Archons. Base at the 6 o'clock position is starting up. +3 flyers. He will test the waters. I think he's being overly safe here, but he's a little afraid that suddenly there's like 20 Corruptors and a bunch of Vipers. The mothership is still abductable in this patch. Likely won't be in the upcoming one. Viper. Yoink. In the meantime, though, the Zealots have been destroying another mineral line. And while there is a small group of roaches killing a couple of probes as well, this is still a really good trade here for the Protoss player. Okay. Oh, wow. What did he just kill? Was that the Lurker Den? Yeah, second Lurker Den going down. Didn't think those Zealots were actually going to be able to achieve much, but that's Lurker Den 2.0. Don't worry, though. We're going to get a Lurker Den 3.0. Step Mothership is coming up as well. That cursed mineral field, by the way, still struggling to be mined. What would the third Mothership be called? If we have the Mothership, the Step Mothership, what would it still be at? I don't know. Dangerous question. Oh, we have a hold position on the... He blocked the pathing using the changelings, making it impossible for those units to escape. That is a lovely play right there by SHIN. The bonus Mothership? A lot of different options available when you think about it. The Grand Mothership? There's a lot of good options, really. Anyways. I think SHIN is wondering to himself how this game suddenly appeared so wrong. Like, like, how in the world did this game not, you know, result in a win? It's not over yet. You can't really be thinking about these sort of things when you're in the middle of a game. But this match was going so well for him until he took a couple of stasis wards to the face. And then suddenly this entire momentum that he had going for himself swung in favor of the Protoss. Now this is a cheeky little squad of Stalkers. Yeah, there's a couple Lurkers going down. He had the units left over. Oh, careful now. Protoss in the meantime wandering most of his army onto creep a little bit too far. There's a lot of static defense here at the front. Difficult for Protoss to break this position. What we really need is that upgrade. Oh, we have it. Okay, the tectonic destabilizers. Very important upgrade here. To be able to get those Tempests to deal maximum amounts of damage. The Lurkers are pretending to be static defense. They're about as static, though, to be fair, as the Spine Crawlers and Spores. So you know what? That little hit squad of Stalkers actually got the job done. Fight over here still continues onwards. Lurkers, though, once more. We have a... Oh, don't storm yourself, buddy. This is not co-op. Storm does damage your friendlies. Stalkers are destroying everything, man. They may go at this rate after the third of the Lurker Dens. In the meantime, Mothership kind of derping out. And I gotta say, I don't like this late-game army movement very much from Trap. It seems very clumsy. A lot of all army hotkeying, a lot of just... yeah, sloppy momentum and movement here in general. Those Motherships don't need to be abducted that easily. Now the Corruptors are coming back home. He seems to be second-guessing a lot of his movement here. Okay. Oh god, where are we going? Okay, we're going into their home. Like, SHIN is shouting, "Get off my lawn," so Trap decided to go into the living room. I don't like any of this. Where are we going this way? Well, I guess ultimately, Zerg doesn't have enough stuff. And even though that army movement there from Protoss is very questionable, he simply had enough units left over to win the game because he's been out mining. But that was a Trap gets the job done, but not in the cleanest of ways. It's funny how it was very much so the Zerg player chasing that Protoss army, but the army they were chasing, they were incapable of fighting. So Trap rather could have been the initiator in that fight. He could have been the one, well, turning around and taking the engagement, but instead he was just kind of being driven back and he was okay with it. It all seemed a little bit strange there. Ultimately though, SHIN just simply bled out. And considering that, yeah, that particular game started off with a very significant advantage for SHIN, since it turned out to be a Trap victory, well, he managed to, even though we had some questionable movement and some interesting decisions, he managed to get the job done in the end. Maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit much here. Maybe I've been watching too many of MaxPax's games. Sometimes chaos. Sometimes that's all you need, and that is a Korean special. That is certainly a Korean special. The Koreans love playing those very chaotic games. It happens all the time. Yeah, SHIN also being very aggressive, though, across the board, right? So, we saw him still making roaches long after he already maxed out, despite having a really good economy. And it's a bit weird to still be producing roaches when you're already setting up, like, lines of Sporus and Spine Crawlers. So, he set up a lot of static defense over at that gold base, where there were a bunch of lurkers burrowed, and there were a bunch of Spine Crawlers and a bunch of Spore Crawlers, and he managed to push the Protoss away from that position. And then he somehow, he shepherded that entire army towards his third base, but then he didn't actually move any of his static defense over towards that third base. So, bit of a curious late game. Bit of a strange late game for sure. Now we have Trap. Feeling like he, okay, could potentially get maybe a bit of a proxy done, or where exactly are we sending this probe? I think he really just wants to make sure that the third base is being inspected. We'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what this worker decides to do. I don't think it's really here for anything too aggressive. Nah, we're just trying to be a little bit of a jerk. Obviously, on Site Delta, you do have the alternative third base as well. I don't think SHIN is really going to be too bothered. But he's unlikely to go and check out this location. So we're once more going to do the same thing as we did in the previous game. Quick chronos right there on that very first adept. Stargate on the back of it too. Okay. SHIN was spending his money though in that previous game like he was never gonna run out. I was being quite critical of the Protoss army movement in particular, but considering SHIN didn't really ever build up a huge economy despite having all the time in the world. Like, he had a decent economy, a pretty good economy too, but he could have had a lot more. Yeah, that late game was not quite as good, honestly, from both players as it could have been. Oh well. It takes us to Site Delta, and we're once more gonna go for an Oracle opener, because of course we go for an Oracle opener. No reason not to go Oracles, really. I feel like over the last half year, we've been seeing a lot more value out of Stasis wards in particular. I think Stasis wards are a pretty undervalued tool, right? Since there's not really any early game detection, especially in this matchup for Zerg. You could bring an Overseer, but most of the time those Overseers don't really make life that much easier. You still need to micro heavily against it, so even when you technically can see the Overseers, or sorry, when you can see the Stasis wards, the Overseers are not just automatically gonna counter it. Couple of Adepts going around. We have an Evolution Chamber here coming up as well. Another build that SHIN was a big fan of in those previous series we've seen him play. It was quick +1 melee. I'm assuming that's what we're going to see over here too when we get up to 100 gas, which we are right now. He's busy trying to micro against that one Oracle here. Okay, there we go. Always a little funny to see the Roach Warren start up at the same time as +1 melee. This is a nice build, especially when Protoss goes for a very conventional follow-up. So when you go into a Twilight Council together with a Forge, like what Trap is doing here, and you go into the good old Blink, Stalkers really do take a lot more damage from Zerglings. And that was one of the things that was kind of missing in the previous game. SHIN never really had that late-game Zergling harassment, right? Like, he never really got money for those late-game Zergling upgrades. So, in this particular instance, he's starting out, he's starting it up nice and early. In the meantime, though, nice cancel on the 4th base. And denying that 4th base, or delaying the 4th base, really does slow down the Zerg's late game quite a bit. Bit of an asterisk, though, right next to it this time around, because this is actually a super quick 4th base. SHIN already making it long before he's fully saturating his bases is, I guess, just for the larva production. Just for the income. This is not so much yet for the gas mining, although that will matter a couple minutes from now. I think this is mostly because he wants to play very Zergling heavy, and you do need a lot of larva for it, so he's decided to take that 4th base a little bit quicker. A lot of these adepts, though, very low. Oh, God. Trap decided to turn around. Loses pretty much all the adepts because of it. He was shading backwards, but that was way too ambitious. And that's going to allow SHIN to now easily finish up the +1 melee before any of these attacks will really come across. Roach Warren? Do we go Hydra Den yet? I'm assuming we're going to be seeing a Hydra Den here in a moment. Baneling Nest instead. Okay. We could be seeing a Roach Ravager Ling Bane type of push. Yeah, instantly into +2 melee. It's fallen out of favor a little bit, mostly because +2 melee is not quite as worthwhile as it once used to be. And Protoss players are also really quite good at holding these sort of attacks. Back in the day, you could, well, kill probes very easily with Banelings, but that's really no longer the case. SHIN is scouting in the meantime too, and he will probably see the Robo Bay. Although I don't even know where it is. Where is the Robo Bay? Did we cancel it? Ah, cheeky, cheeky. We canceled it in favor of a Templar Archives instead. Honestly, I don't think he should cancel it. I think he's probably better off going into a couple Colossi or even Disruptors here. Not a terrible choice. Because this is not going to be a Zerg player that's teching up. This is SHIN mostly taking a sidestep as far as the teching goes. This is not into Lurkers, not into Vipers. Instead, we're going to go straight into Roach speed and Baneling speed. When +2 melee hits, it is really going to make the Zerg army much more powerful. Although, if you can go like into Psionic Storm here, that is another way that you can hold those attacks. But that is a long upgrade, and, well, Trap really needs to start it up if he wants to get it going. There we go. A little bit late on it. Does warp in a couple High Templar immediately. It goes into a 4th Nexus. I think what SHIN is planning on doing, though, is pretty much go all in with this upcoming attack of his. He's been making non-stop army for quite a long time now. Yeah, and now he reveals the amount of stuff he's been building. He's got a lot of gas as well. If you can catch those Stalkers, that'd be massive. 1 Stalker, 2 Stalkers, okay. How many Banelings can you make? I think all of them. Yeah, buddy. Lightweight. Okay, no, sorry. No, sorry. Ronnie Coleman. No, 50 Banelings. A casual 50 Baneling attack coming in. I haven't seen this push in quite a long time. Storm is not done yet. Storm is not done yet. Trap forgot about the upgrade while he was harassing on the other side of the map. He delayed the upgrade. He canceled the Robo Bay. Started up the Templar Archives. Storm is finishing though right now. Oh god. Okay. That was clutch. Still think it's a bit too late. I think the damage has already been mostly done. A lot more Lings on the back of this. I mean, it's good that it finished up eventually. A lot of Stalkers available too, though. Zerg hasn't yet killed the base. I think it will go down momentarily. We had a lot of Lings on the production tab too. Shield battery overcharge. Shield battery overcharge is gonna, okay. It's gonna be finished right there by a corrosive bile in the end. Lynx with +2 melee absolutely wrecking those Stalkers. Imagine if Trap had Storm done when Zerg came rolling through this choke point. That would have been a very straightforward hold. Instead, this game has just been flipped upside down. One of the Zerglings there does get the final hit on the High Templar. SHIN, by the way, hasn't really added on any more drones. As a matter of fact, he's not added on any. 0. He made another hatchery, but that's why he's down to 74 now. He's been making non-stop army for about 4 minutes or so. And I don't think he's done. More banelings? No. These are going to be Zerglings instead. Okay. Let's see. I think he's going to go again when +1 missile finishes up. I wonder if this sort of attack will become more popular again in the upcoming balance patch. A lot of Zerg players are not really too confident playing late game. And this is one of those attacks that's really difficult for Protoss to hold. You have to do a lot of things right for this sort of attack from Zerg to be holdable. And it's hard to scout it, right? Like, you don't necessarily always see the Baneling Nest. It's very likely to see an Infestation Pit and a Hydra Den and all the rest of it instead. Maybe this is mostly good because it's more rare again these days. That's sometimes how StarCraft strategies work. Even though they're technically, quote-unquote, solved, right? You still have to also play correctly against them. And when you don't play against them in a long time, then sometimes they can actually catch you off guard again. But here we go. Very large wave number 2. Rolling with the Banelings. High Templar out of position, though. They should have been over here. Couple up north, couple down south. A lot of corrosive balls are flying across the screen. A lot of Zerglings on the back of this, too. He does need to be able to overwhelm this, though. I think he's getting it done just barely. Because once that Immortal disappears, the Zerglings and the Roaches, they can start working on all of those probes instead. 16 have already gone down. Another Nexus is in a world of trouble. Yeah, SHIN is now doubling his opponent's supply pretty much. Lovely game. GG. Alrighty. And that means that this series comes down to Oceanborn. Final game in this best of 3 series. I've always liked the Baneling. Literally such an explosive unit. It is fun to see the unit being used. It's not very common anymore these days. I feel like we obviously see it in Zerg versus Terran. We do occasionally see it in Zerg versus Protoss. And maybe we've seen it enough. Maybe we've seen enough Ravager-ling Bane in the past. But these days, we don't really see that strategy all too often anymore. I guess it's one of the follow-ups you can go for. Maybe one of the advantages that you can go for when you do go for that quick +1 melee, right? So SHIN decided to go for a really quick evolution chamber in that previous game and then straight into the +1 melee. You have to make that decision a very long time before you ever go for the +2 attack. There's a lot of builds that Protoss could follow it up with that would make that attack, well, completely pointless, but I think SHIN saw the opportunity and he grabbed it. Let's see where this goes then. The Adept's going around. Trap, by the way, has tried delaying the opponent's third base every single game, and it's not worked out a single time. I think overall it's a cool idea, but it doesn't seem to be worthwhile at all. It just puts you unnecessarily behind. It's not a huge deal, it's only 25 minerals. I guess you have to keep the probe around, so maybe it's more like 50 minerals, but it does slow you down, you know? And it just seems a little bit unnecessary, but I guess Trap has had some good experiences with it. Normal timing on this Nexus is 350. And this is kind of where that resource difference kicks in a bit. Yeah. The entire Nexus is just massively delayed here. Yeah, I mean massively. It's about 10 seconds. An unnecessary 10 seconds now. Okay. Oracle goes in. It's the second Oracle. First one already did go across the map. Queen's putting up a couple of creep tumor here. Trying to get that vision out on the map. Probably the strongest Zerg mechanic, actually. Here's the Adepts once more. Pauses underneath an Overlord. That's always nice. Gives Zerg a little bit more time to make a couple of those lings. They're gonna need them, though. SHIN actually didn't have that much. Queen's over here. Yeah, okay, he does commit, but this is a risky move by Trap. A really hard one to justify. I like the movement here on those drones. New Zerglings are spawning. He's already following this up, though, with more drones. None of the Shades finished, and that means that all of the Adepts are dead. Twilight Council, together with a Forge. Yeah, Trap makes quite a few of those moves where he just slows himself down a bunch. It's not a huge deal, but it does accumulate. Photon Cannon goes down. And these are really just leftover units, right? Like, this is SHIN eating yesterday's leftovers here. You know, the ones that you find in the bottom of the fridge and you forget about, and then you throw out, and, you know, you throw it out, and then you feel bad about yourself. That's what happens to my leftovers sometimes. SHIN is making a lot of use out of it, though. He's already going up to 70+ workers, whereas Trap is barely saturating the third base. We are going Blink, we are going +1, but any real committed Blink push is already pretty much impossible. Unless Zerg makes a gigantic error, this base should never die. Let's see. Maybe he can get the job done. No Evo Chamber this time around, nice and quickly. This is a 6.5 minute Evo Chamber, so like 3 minutes later than the previous game. Instead, we're gonna go straight into an Infestation Pit. I would imagine we're gonna see a Hydra Den and a Hive. In the meantime, second Robo facility on the other side of the map together with a Robo Bay. Should be for Colossi. Maybe he's a little concerned that this is going to be the exact same follow-up again. Oh, okay. We're going Nidus Swarm Host? That is not what I expected. I was wondering why the Hydra Den was late. But I think this is Nidus Swarm Host. The Trap is probably thinking it's Nidus, that this is gonna be Hydras into Lurkers as well. Yep, there they are. This is not the type of game where you really need to go for the good old Swarm Host, but... apparently SHIN is feeling like it's his best chance. Let's see, though. This can technically be spotted here, but is he paying attention? I mean, he is gonna get a glimpse of it. Maybe? It's 15 seconds for the revelation. No, I don't think he saw that. I don't think he knows. Luckily, though, for Protoss, a couple Colossus. Not a bad idea. At least not in the main engagement. It's all about the first wave of Locust. Swarm Hosts are very momentum-based. When the first wave of Locust deals a bunch of damage, then suddenly the second wave will deal more damage too. So let's see. Completely unscouted. Trap does see them right now from the corner of his vision. What do you aim for here? Guaranteed damage is usually the goal. Okay. Oh, that Colossus! Just about a second or two away from finishing. Hello, hello, hello. Don't lose the Nexus. If the Nexus dies, it's pretty much game over. Ooh, God, he gets it. He gets it. In the meantime, oh, God, when it rains, it pours. The fourth base is also under attack. At least he cancels it, but... now suddenly, man, those Swarm Hosts are gonna hit like trucks. Trap's economy is down the gutter. In the meantime, we do have the Lurker Den. We do have the Hive. So we are gonna follow this up with a relatively normal game. He's not gonna stick around on just good old Lurkers, good old Swarm Hosts. But he is gonna transition towards an actual late game army. This seems to be the modern way to play Swarm Host. Back in the day, people would make like 20 Swarm Hosts and then just rain the Locust. It's kind of like we see Mutas, you know? You see one group of Swarm Hosts. Oh, he's just hunting for whatever guaranteed damage he can get. Now, this is good, though, from Trap. Yeah, he should have stepped that Colossus slightly further forward. As soon as he saw the Locusts turning their weapons onto the Nexus itself, he was a bit slow reacting to it. And that cost him a base. Still, this has been quite an investment as well from SHIN. The supply count is a little bit deceiving. It's mostly Roaches and Swarm Hosts, which is, yeah, decent, but very supply heavy. The Lurkers, though, are coming, and as long as he's got a couple of them for this next upcoming push here from the Protoss, I think he should be fine. We already have 8 Lurkers on the production tab. 5 of them are already out. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think this fight is really going to do much, Trap. I mean, we can test. We can test the waters. He's feeling like he needs to, because obviously he lost 2 Nexi, but yeah, his only real detection here is an Observer. Another Nexus goes down. Ay. Trap loses another base. SHIN is rubbing salt in the wound right now. Not only is he preparing to counter a late-game Protoss army, he's not even playing against a late-game Protoss army. This is just a bunch of leftovers again, man. Oh, okay. You guys go tell the story. They're like, no! We were told to die! Poor roaches. Alright, well, you got your, yeah, there you go. You got your wish. He doesn't want the roaches anymore. He's replacing them with better units. And the better units come in the form of Lurkers. There's one Dark Templar here. Awkwardly trying to sidestep all of those units. Okay. Nidus Whack-A-Mole is going much better now, but I think the damage has already been done. Dark Templar. Not in the best of positions. Couple of the... No! Okay. Disruptors do get surrounded. At least the shield battery overcharge is coming in clutch. Another one over there, though, has been move commanded far forward. A lot of the Hydras are melting. These Lurkers can be pushed around. There's one Dark Templar killing a Roach Warren. Probably would be nice to target something actually valuable. Another Swarm Host. At least a potential attack going in that direction. A couple of Lurkers over here. More probes have gone down. Must have been those Lurkers. Or those Swarm Hosts too. Okay, we're gonna transfuse it back up and... Well, the Spore Crawler just moved on over in this direction. And that ultimately gave him all the detection he really needed. That means that Trap is about ready to put all of his eggs in one basket. He has not dealt with the Swarm Host in the main base, though. And that means that the Zerg units are flooding through. Recall is used on one Colossus? I don't know about that, but maybe it can help out enough to actually get rid of these units. Yeah, okay. If we micro it, it's good. In the meantime, though, here's the main army. Pretty much the last army that Trap can make, but it might be enough to win the game. I don't see a whole lot of Lurkers here for base defense. The Swarmos have come back. 2 of the Disruptors end up going down. Roach is here ready to just soak up a couple of hits. SHIN forced to go back into the Roach production, which is not really what he was aiming for. We have a little bit of Colossus juggling. Okay. Giving up the low HP units. Trap now only at 49 workers, but still a decent saturation. It's just that he doesn't have a whole lot of minerals to mine from anymore. And it doesn't look like he's winning the game with this particular attack, although he's getting a hell of a lot of value. Some nice micro here by Trap. Oh no. Until the Spore Crawler came into the equation. I think if you just make a round of Lurkers here, it's going to be really hard to hold. It's also expensive, though, to make those Lurkers. Bit of a move command right there by SHIN, getting a little over-eager. There's still enough Observers up in the air. He's actually winning the ground battle right now. Those couple Colossi, man, that he didn't really want to make. 21, 22, 17 kills. It's not a bad situation. Swarmos are currently on cooldown. Oh my god, is Trap actually clutching this one out? Dude, Protoss players at the highest level have this uncanny ability to power up when they're very, very far behind. We see this time and time again. No way. No way. Why do we need to fall behind first, though, before we before we start doing this? Does he have enough? Colossus stays alive? Locust, I mean, that's just the leftovers. He lost so many bases in this game. It reminds me a bit of the first game in this best of 3 series. Yeah, Zerg late game, it hangs on by a thread. It is a very delicate procedure. The early game for Protoss is very delicate, and much in the same way, the late game for Zerg is also very delicate. It doesn't always feel like that, but God, you can see it reflected in these games. Really fun series. It's Trap who obtains the victory. 2-1. Ay.